Welcome back, everyone, to Recoded. Very excited to have you all here. I'm joined by Stacia and Hannah, and I am Sarah. We are the Alliance. The title is How to Stay in the Eye of the Hurricane. I'm sure you're wondering what that means. And the date that this drops, maybe you're feeling a lot of heavy energy. There's a lot going on with astrology right now. And we're here to tell you, like, it's okay. We can get through this. And if you're feeling some kind of way right now, which, when we're recording this, I know we already have people feeling that way. So I can just imagine what it's going to be like once this airs. So we're here to maybe help prepare you a little bit, or you might be right in the eye of the hurricane, and we want to help you to get through it, to know it's okay. No, you're not going crazy. It's not you. It's the energies. It's the astrology. And luckily, we have an expert who is here to help you with that. So I'm going to hand it over right to our beautiful Stacia. And I know I'm going to be taking notes on how to get through this.
Our resident astrologer.
Yes, our resident.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I was just talking to the ladies, and I expressed how I've had a lot of people reaching out to me wondering what the heck is going on, because things may not even be bad in their lives, but they're feeling bad. And it's making them feel drained and they're just not feeling right. And I was like, okay, it's okay. You've tapped into this feeling, because it's really collectively what we're all going through right now. We're all feeling it. So those of us that maybe aren't doing as bad, we're still feeling the feelings of those of not doing as good. So really, when you get down to it, we have all these retrogrades right now, all these retrograded planets, soon to be 7 out of the 9. That's great. So it's
like, it's one of the 7 Mercury, whatever the heck the one is.
Oh, yes. Yes. Like, as we're recording this, watch me, we'll have technical issues because it's just what it is.
No, we're not going to do it.
We will not.
We're not calling that in.
And it's so interesting. Let me just interrupt, because when you say it's like the planets are saying, in those relationships, it's not you, it's me. It's like, it's not you, it's us who are retrograding.
Yes. But seriously, though, it is us, because when you think about it, we're made of the stars, and literally how the stars are aligned when you're born. It's like this directly or indirectly, makes an impression on our uniqueness of who we are as an individual, because here we are on this little planet. And what people don't really consider is that we can't just say, oh, the solar flares bother you, or this bothers you, because this energy is everywhere. It's ubiquitous, I guess would be the word for it. It'd be like trying to go down in the ocean and measure water. It's impossible. So we know that at times we just get all of this extra energy. We just don't have a way to prove how this energy is affecting us. So, when we come into this world, we've got, stars are all aligned for us. And so we are all really this individuality that we have. When you start to consider, like, where was the sun when I was born? Where was the moon when I was born? And, where were all these other planets? Because literally this energy is just ping-ponging around outside of our little sphere. Or if you're a flat earther, your little piece of paper, it's just ping-ponging around, and it's hitting us in ways that we can't really prove. We just feel them, and we are feely people. I think that that's what really throws people off, is when things, a retrograde is technically not a planet going backwards. It's just because where we are, our vantage point on the Earth, it appears to be going backwards, because, some planets go around faster than us. Some planets take a lot longer to go around the sun than we do. So at times it just appears like we're zipping past Saturn. So now it looks like Saturn's behind us. So Saturn's just doing Saturn's thing. However, when Saturn's doing Saturn's thing, things might be happening within our lives. Saturn's about teaching us lessons. Whereas Mercury, that planet of communication and ideas and travel, it's very interesting that a lot of times before the retrograde starts and after it finishes, we've got this really mucky energy going on where things just tend to stand out that they're not working well. We had disastrous electronic issues at school today. Like, our bell wouldn't even ring. And when he finally got it to ring, it rang for like an hour. People are like, why is the bell doing this? It was so bad. But getting back into the feelings. So you start to notice that even when your day to day might not seem to be so bad, you're picking up on maybe the person not enjoying the bell ringing. You're kind of picking up on that energy because we are all feeling it where that energy is in our chart, if that makes sense. It's like wherever you were born, wherever Mercury was, it's like that is the area of your life that you're gonna feel it. So that's why it always kind of goes in these like, oh, I'm fine, and then it's like, I'm dying here. Why is the moon trying to murder me? Like, we have so many extremes, but those extremes are felt. We are all really connected when you think about it. We've got this consciousness that really holds us all, this space that we're in, and we're just going to kind of talk about how we can move through that a little easier and hopefully allow you to see that we use tools for us to, navigate our lives and try to make them a little bit more on our terms instead of, Mercury's spilling its Gatorade and now we're all dying. So we don't want to do that. I love when people say that Mercury's in Gatorade. It's like, you just wait till it hits your house. You're going to see.
Well, all I ever know is Mercury in retrograde, bad. And I'll like, something will happen. I'll say to my mom, I'll be like, well, Mercury's in retrograde. And she's like, what does it mean? So I'm going to tell her to listen to this episode.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times people forget that it can actually be a good thing, because sometimes when planets are this retrograding energy, it gives you a chance to do something over. Did you sign a contract that you're not happy with? Maybe something's going to happen and that contract's now voided and you can do it over. There's always that positive, and we've got to look for that positive. That's part of what we're here to tell you is always looking for that good. Yeah.
And if we part from the premise that everything is always working out for me, then you have a good start. Because for example, I've known about Mercury retrograde for 30 years. One of my best friends is an astrologer, and she would always tell me about Mercury retrograde when nobody knew about Mercury retrograde, right? Nobody talked about it, nobody knew about it, nobody cared about astrology. And she would tell me, careful, don't sign that contract now. Careful, don't buy this thing now. Careful, don't hire this new person now. And every time she told me, something would happen, and I'd be like, that happened, and she'd be, I told you, I'm not going to tell you about Mercury anymore if you don't want to listen, and da-da-da. So what happened in my life is she put the fear of God in me about the retrograde before even anybody talked about the retrograde. So I was living in fear of Mercury for many, many years. And one day I decided, you know what? Enough. Because I'd start preparing for Mercury a month before the shadow period started. But if you look at the length of time that Mercury is effectively in retrograde, you're going to spend like a quarter of your year in a retrograde mode, because it goes on retrograde 3, sometimes the way it lands, even 4 times a year. Now, the actual, and I'm probably stepping on your turf, Station.
You are totally not. You're totally not.
But The effective, you can chime in and correct me. The effective retrograde period, in which we call it active or whatever, is a 3 week, 21 days.
Yes.
However, there is a pre-shadow period and a post-shadow period. And then there's the, what is it called when it's static? Stationary. So there's the stationary Mercury, which is, okay, so imagine that here, we're standing here on Earth, right? And then Mercury is over there doing its
zipping around.
orbit.
Zipping.
But it's very tiny. So I think it goes around in maybe a month.
It's
or
about
3 months.
80 some days. Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 months, right? For it to have a year, a full return. So if it's going forward, here we are from our vantage point, right? This is me on Earth. I'm seeing it go this way. It is going forward. But then when it's going around that way, it looks like it's stationary, but it isn't. But it's looking to my eye like it's not moving. It's just moving away from us. That's the stationary. Then it goes into retrograde. It's not going retrograde. Mercury is just going forward around the sun, but it's now looking like it's going retrograde. Then when it's coming this way, we get another stationary. Why? Because it looks like it's not moving. It is moving, but it just, to our eye, to our vantage point, it's just coming closer to us. So it looks like it's static. Then it goes into direct motion again, right? So if you start counting the enormity of the pre-shadow, and then I think sometimes it's 2 to 3 weeks on either end, right, Stacia? How many
This
weeks?
current one started August 3rd and it finishes September 30th.
Oh, damn. Okay.
For the whole
So,
pre and post.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I
So we
just
have
say though, Hannah,
months.
the way you just
What?
explained that, finally it wrapped my brain around what was happening.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good.
And I hope it helped our listeners too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everybody's like, what's retrograde? Now, what happens with the planets that are with a bigger orbit? Same thing, except it takes a freaking as long time. That's why Saturn return is every 29 years. You usually have one, and thank God for that, because Saturn, you have one Saturn return in your life. I had mine.
When
I
did it happen
survived it.
last? When
It
was the
depends on
last-
when you were born. Where
It depends
was.
on your chart. You have
Yeah.
your
Oh,
own
so we'll
Saturn.
talk about that in that episode.
Yes. Yes.
Getting ahead of myself.
And I had my Saturn return.
I must have had mine.
It is
You're like,
a
I've had
2 year. It's a year and a half, right, or 2 years.
It's about a 40 every 40-ish year type. So you can hit another one, but when we're older, it shouldn't
You
matter.
know what? My friend told me I'm not gonna hit another one, and I choose to believe it, because if I get this when I'm 80, it'll kill me.
No, the thing is, you've now learned the lessons, the Saturn lessons. You're not going to have to go through another one, because you're just going to be that Hana that's like, this is interesting, and I'm just going to watch it.
True.
Right.
Yeah, you're just gonna get your popcorn out and watch the show.
It is tough to go through a Saturn return.
Yeah.
It is not a walk in the park. And if you don't know about these things, when it hits, you just think that everything in life is against you. But when you understand that there are these lessons that you need to learn and you work it, you can, in fact, remain in the eye of the hurricane, right? I thought I was in the outskirts. I was getting shook and shaken like a martini, like a mixologist mixing a martini, and I was the vodka in it. It shook me, and it was so tough, challenging times. And now, with everything that I know, everything that I practice, like Stacia said, I'd probably be saying, well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because once you acquire that wisdom, once you've gone through those challenging times, it's either you grow, because we grow tremendously. Like 7 is an incredible teacher if you choose to accept it and look at it that way. Mm-hmm. So it's all in how we look at things, right? It's all in how we decide we're going to face things. For me, for example, one of the things that I find so funny now is when I went through my divorce and my dark night of the soul and all that horrible time that I went through. When it was over, I was so happy for a while because I thought, I've gone through my challenge. I am done. Now I am going to be here on the other side, helping people cross over to the fun part. And I was convinced that that was it for me, that I had done my thing. It was my challenge in life that I went through, and I was done. And that wasn't even my Saturn return. My Saturn return was before that or after, I can't remember. But anyway, I thought this part of my life was like the biggest challenge, and that was going to be it. Only to be surprised by life. And I was like, yeah, that was preschool. We were just getting ready for
the warm up.
That was the dress rehearsal, honey, because what was to come after, I would have never imagined. And the worst part of it was that I was so unprepared because I thought I would never see another challenge of that magnitude again. And boy, was I wrong. And that is why I've learned my lesson. I will never say I'm done with my challenges, because I know after this one comes another one. And after the other one comes another one. But how are we going to navigate through them? And that is the whole key. When we know that these things are going to come, but how do we navigate them with ease and grace and,
yeah,
you know.
So I would ask then, and for the listeners, like, what's your go-to then, both of you or whatever, either of you, like when you are faced with those challenges, what's like your go-to thing that you do to face it with grace and not like go completely into panic mode?
I feel like you've got to ask the questions, you know. Sometimes we take everything so personally when it's like, well, hey, you know what? The ink just blurted everything out at school. The emails weren't working. The bell's going crazy. I could take that as a personal attack because it was one thing after another after another. And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to slow down and just really be present. And maybe I would be missing something if I was, you know, oh, it's just this, and now it's this, and now it's that, and I'm not seeing what maybe there's a reason that all of these things were happening and everything was stalled. You know, I got to spend a lot of extra time with some kids that really needed it today. I didn't realize we had if for the listeners, I am now a teacher, and I started in kindergarten class yesterday, and it was really intense. We had a little girl cry the entire time, and then I find out today she's been moved from foster home to foster home, and she had just gotten back with her mother. So sending her off to school, this was her life. She probably thought we were going to be another, you know, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mom again. So when I seen her today, she was just in such good spirits, and she is just like, I love you. I'm like, I love you. I just met you yesterday, and you are just great. Aww. But it just gave me, you know, I would have had these missed opportunities. So it's really just allowing yourself to say, you know what, it's okay. And I know that things can happen all the time. It doesn't have to be in a retrograde, but maybe we need to realize that when things are starting to happen, that it's just giving us that opportunity to really notice maybe what's going on around us that we might miss otherwise.
Yeah. Wow. Good point. What about you, Hannah?
It's all about being present in the moment, finding the gift, I always say, out of the shit grow the flowers, right? Sometimes we have to dig deep, but for me, I'm always looking for a gift. I'm always thinking everything is always working out for me. And my mantra is always, God has my back. So my faith gets tested, and I just have to double down on my faith. And I keep, it's like, well, growing my container, right? It's like, if I'm feeling like I'm not believing, or I'm feeling like God maybe has forsaken me at some point, then I ask, how may I serve?
I'm like, damn, you two. That's powerful. Yeah, for me, and when I was thinking about it, for me, everything that I'm doing, and like I was gonna give an analogy with like preparing for a marathon, but since we're talking about like staying in the eye of the hurricane, I'm thinking about like when, people who have like shelters prepared, let's say for a hurricane, right? Underground shelters, and they have food in there and they have supplies that they need so that when the hurricane comes, they're prepared and they can handle the situation better. I feel like everything that we've been doing and that I've been doing personally prepares me for those moments when how many? Seven fucking planets are going in
To be
retrograde
7.
that prepare me so that I can handle it better. And like a funny little example is, and the girls know about this. Um, we were having a potluck and I had to bake something to bring somewhere. And it took like an hour and a half. I love baking, but I did this new recipe and, you're bringing something somewhere and people are going to be eating it. You want it to be nice. And so it took an hour and a half to cook. And there was like maybe 10 minutes left for the baking. And I was sitting there and I was, all of a sudden I heard like this noise in the oven. And like, I saw this flash and I was like, oh my God, did my pan just crack? And then I heard like, so it was like a blueberry upside down cake. And I heard the sizzling sound. And I was like, oh my God, that just took me an hour and a half. Did the thing just break? And I opened the oven and sure enough, the pan had cracked. Andrew takes it out from me. My mom comes out and she's like, oh my God, what happened? And I was like, the pan cracked, like my dessert's done. And this is the key though. And my mom listens to the podcast, so she'll listen and be like, okay. My mom told me after, she's like, I was so shocked with how you handled. She said to herself, oh my God, what's happened to Sarah? Because old me would have fucking lost my shit. I would have been crying. I would have fucking slammed things around. I would have been like, that just took me an hour and a half. I wasted everything. And I was like, oh, well, my reaction was, there's nothing I can do. I was like, there's nothing I can do. That's what happened. I will go buy cookies tomorrow. And you know what I did? And I found the gift, Hannah. I was like, I like baking. I got to spend an hour baking and doing something. I can bake stuff and throw it out after. I don't. I let people eat it, but it's the act of baking that brings me joy. So I went to the positive. I went to like not panic. It was like, okay, well, I can just go buy something. It's not the end of the world. And I just reframed the whole situation. And for my mom to tell me that after showed me like all the work that I've done, all the work we do together has paid off. And that has prepared me for when, a thing breaking in the oven isn't the end of the world, but that hurricane moment. But when you bring up like bigger moments that can happen, it's like, okay, I know I'm better prepared for those type of things because I have done the work and I do have those things to fall back on. And I have the people in my life, right, that get me through those moments. So yeah, I'm like,
and we're ready.
We're
ready. For me, it's like I have all the fuel that I need.
Yeah, and for anything, like there's so many things that can come up, and I think about, you don't know what's going to happen with family or like, God forbid somebody gets sick or things like that. Anything that could happen, job loss, like you I think no matter what it is that is thrown our way, and I think about the listeners, like, whatever you're going through right now or will go through in the future, or like it might not be this retrograde, but whatever. It's like if we do the work, and I loved like the suggestions you guys had, because if we do that, we don't have to stress. We have our bunker with all our food and supplies that we need. But if you're getting to the point where 7 planets are in retrograde and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Well, of course you're going to be in panic mode. You're like scrambling. Oh my God, I have 2 packs of craft dinner to last me God knows how long. Like we want to be prepared for those things. And that's why we bring you these types of topics on our episodes, so that every week, right, you can get a little bit stronger, a little bit more prepared for things. And whether it's using tools like meditation, or, just being prepared and knowledgeable with astrology, or becoming more independent with creating your own business so you're not reliant on a job. All of these tools, all of these things we do will make you better prepared for those moments when you are in the eye of the hurricane.
Like we're still in this energy of, Mercury retrograding in Virgo, and that's really affecting a lot of people right now, because Mercury it rules Virgo, and it brings with it this intense desire for things to be right. So it's like driving this perfectionism syndrome, and this like picking at, what is bad with you and what's bad with me. And we fail to see like the bigger picture sometimes when we fall into that energy. So it's like, when you think about what the planets actually do, it's really a reflection back of, things that are going on in our lives, these energies that we put ourselves in. It's just amplifying those energies. So one thing I would suggest with that, because it's still, we've got a lot going on, it's just really when you figure out that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be focusing too much on this one tiny piece of the puzzle when I have this entire puzzle that I need to put together. So, just allowing yourself that grace to just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stop this because I really need to move forward. And, just catching yourself in those energies, because we also have, Uranus going into, it's going to be going into retrograde now that Mercury is already in retrograde, and we've got, Venus retrograde in Leo. So there's like all of these things coming up with relationships and really just things that we find comfort in our lives, could kind of be disheveled. So it's just really allowing yourself this space to say, you know what, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm safe. And just really going from there, being present with yourself, but not allowing yourself to get caught up in the energies that we already carry. It's just that some of these things that are spinning around us are just amplifying these tendencies that we already have. Because I'm always saying, I get this, analysis paralysis, because I want things to be perfect. And then you discover that things are never perfect. We just keep things in this harmonious balance of, okay, well, it's good, huh? Okay. And then it's fine. And that's how you move forward. If I get caught up over here, like, oh no, oh, now I'm not doing anything at all. So with Uranus going retrograde, that is like this wake up planet. It comes with surprises and chaos. So it's really, depending on what's going on in your life, it's just allowing yourself this idea that, okay, things could potentially not go as well as I would like. How am I going to feel about this? How am I going to deal with this? Not allowing yourself to say everything is screwed because this has happened. And Venus is actually going to be turning direct in Leo. So that's going to bring a little bit of relief to us. I think it's going to be happening right about the time that Jupiter is going to be turning retrograde. And, with Jupiter, it's really usually not a bad planet for retrograding. I think that when Jupiter is retrograde, it lasts for about 120 days. It goes retrograde every year, and depending on the sign, it's usually not as severe because it's like just one of those background energies that is just always there. But probably for another topic, what really kind of matters with this is when you do look at a birth chart, you have this, where you were born and what planets were there. But not only do these planets, are they in a certain sign, they're also in a house. And what that means is, we've got these 12 areas of our life that we put on like an astrological clock. So depending on, the placements of the planets in these houses, it's really going to determine how we use these energies as strengths for us, or if we let them become weaknesses. So that is why I'm always just like, learn about yourself. It sounds crazy to put it in a planetary way, but really we have these inner planets, the planets that are closer to the earth, and these outer planets. And when you really take that energy and really divide it up, you start to notice these things, these aspects we carry that we can kind of see in our reality, because it's affecting everyone. So I feel like we're going to be good because you're listening to this podcast, and we're going to help you get through all these energies, because if something's coming up, usually there's a reason that it's coming up. There's something you need to look at. And when you approach it from that aspect, not, whoa, it's me? Why is this happening? I feel like that just changes everything. So I'm just going to keep it at that, because there's just so much I could talk for the rest of the day.
Like, go take that action. Like you brought up, I think the one planet you said is like that perfectionist mode, right? And how you get into that analysis paralysis. If I could give any words of advice during this time, it's like, now's not the time to shy away or hide from like your passion and what you're doing in your business and whatever you're trying to create in this world. It's like, okay, now go do it. Like, enough with, we're not analyzing anymore, right? It's like,
Right.
let's go. It's perfect because you did it. Go do the damn thing. And then, if you can do that now, wow, watch, like you're just gonna go through the rest of the time with ease. So
Yeah. All right. So today our meditation is going to be something that will help you come and find your center, even when you feel like everything around you is falling apart. So go ahead and place your feet flat on the ground, back straight, preferably against a surface. You can be sitting in a chair, sitting on a chair with a big high back, or against the wall. It doesn't matter as long as your back is straight, so you can keep yourself in alignment, and your energy centers, one straight on top of the other, that will allow that communication and that flow within them. Now go ahead and place your palms facing up on your thighs and inhale through your nose. And let it all go with a big sigh. Inhale again. And letting it all go. And every time you let go, relax your shoulders, let go of any tension that you're holding in your body. And one last time, inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Go ahead and close your eyes if you haven't already. And start noticing how your toes feel. Take your attention to your toes. Wiggle your toes. As you do that, you're going to feel yourself embodying your body more. Now go ahead and tap and feel the edges of your body from the inside out. You will notice that immediately you'll get a sense of spaciousness within. Beautiful. Now tap and connect to your physical heart. Notice where it is. If you can, feel it pumping. And now imagine that your heart is filled with love. And with every pump, you will start spilling over that love and filling your vessel up. Notice how it starts filling your body up. All that space that you created is now getting filled with love. Feel yourself connecting to that inner peace and inner calm, taking you away from the external and noticing how much peace you hold within. Now enjoy it for a few minutes. Feeling the love, feeling the peace. Beautiful. Now allow that love to remain in your body, filling you up. And now you're very familiar with that peace. And you're going to allow for that peace to spill over every area of your life. Allow it just to flow over. Gonna keep that on autopilot. And when you're ready, wiggle your toes again, start coming back. Feeling how even your heart rate has slowed down a little bit. You've calmed your nervous system down a bit. And when you're ready, open your eyes and do a little stretch. Do a little shake. Inhale. And let it all go. And welcome back.
Well, I hope everybody feels a little bit lighter now after listening to this episode. And if you have any questions about anything, please let us know. Follow, subscribe, rate, like, review, all the things.
And subscribe and the button up here.
Yes, we're gonna have a fancy button.
Fancy
Follow
button.
us on Instagram. Yeah, all our links are in the show notes, but the more you follow us, the more people will see this podcast, and we'll be able to touch more people's lives, and that's what the whole point of this is. So yay, thank you everybody, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whenever you're listening. Bye.
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 Recoding.